You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 43 for July 15th, 2018. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey John, how's it going?
Actually pretty good. Did a lot of stuff this week. Got a lot of things done. A lot of things fixed.
Yeah.
Fixed some things last Friday evening really late. It's an issue that I messaged you about. It was really dumb. But hey.
Yeah, work was challenging for me a little bit. It was primarily because my boss is away, and then customers that usually would be buffered through my boss a little bit came right at me because they could, and I'm sort of, in respect to the project, sort of next in line in terms of being in charge. So, so that became a thing, and so I literally just picked up the phone and called each of the 3 or 4 people that were going to be in my ears all day anyways, or in my email inbox all day. I just picked up the phone call and made a phone call and just went down the list of things to satiate all their needs or interests in the conversation pieces. So, that is generally when you have things to do, plus all that is real challenging. Yeah. So that was what my work week was like.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, I've been complaining about the Ono printer for a while now.
Oh no, you'll never get it.
Well, guess what? We have something new this week.
Oh,
so they came out with a message saying, "Hey, we're almost done. We're done. We're gonna start building them now." And the next day, a new message was posted on their Kickstarter saying, "Hey, we have this Start Engine campaign, which is basically you get stock in the company. It's kind of like a Kickstarter, but with stock. So you pay money, and you get part of the company."
Yeah.
Problem with that is that, it's kind of stupid because they can only start shipping it as soon as they have enough money. So the Kickstarter backers who backed like 2.5 million, I think 2.4. Yeah. And I think they're like 2.5 million in debt right now. And they need 2.5 million to get the company funded.
Yeah.
So basically just to get out of debt. And then they can start shipping their products. And I understand that they're trying to build their company.
Yeah.
But, it took them 2 years to get everything really fixed. And now they have a product that may or may not work. And the worst of all, this forking thing doesn't even... their app that they have is a locked-in thing. It's like walled garden. You have to upload your things to their system. You get like 20 megs of space, and then they slice it for you. So as soon as their company goes under, that little thing is a paperweight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to ask the fundamental question: why would you give them, as a backer, why would you give them more money to have a tiny little micro amount of ownership in a company that was clearly mismanaged from the very start, right? So, I have one of these Kickstarter fails that's epic. Yours is more epic, of course. But, mine wasn't even really Kickstarter, it was Indiegogo. And that, I learned my lesson from that. I had some bleak experience with Indiegogo. So, and I realized it's not so much the crowdfunding platform that's a problem. It's the people who target that platform because they know what kind of abuse they're going to make on it. So, I had one thing I was protected from a problem, and I have another one is just like I paid $100 every 6 months. I get a $100 newsletter for the rest of my life about how they're going to be shipping and how next month and, in 2 months they'll have it. And then, and I hope for that group to work itself out and get me to get my project that is at this point 3 years old. But in the same respect, I looked at when it was called Olo. I looked at Olo and I said, "Oh, that's neat. Maybe I'll put that on my Kickstarter thing." And I'm glad I didn't, not to knock you, John. So, at some point you got to call it quits. You try to build your thing, and they mismanaged it from the get-go, and that's the end of the story. And it's 2 years too late. It's 1 year too late. It's months too late. It's not in your hands and not working.
Yeah. Well, what the thing is that they are only going to allow their own resins.
Yeah.
They're only going to allow stuff that works on their thing. So what I'm going to do as soon as I get it, I'm going to fork it. And by fork, I mean like fork the project. I'm going to build my own software, get an Arduino attached to it, get an LCD screen, and just replace the whole thing, and don't even put a phone in the bottom, just to have like an Arduino with, not Arduino, but like a, whatchamacallit? Well, I could even do it with an Arduino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, I could do it with Raspberry Pi with an
Android on it.
LCD display on the top.
Yeah.
And then I can just print with that and just control the lever up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing doesn't look that, special. There's like a special, they say that they have like the special software and things on it, but basically it's just a Bluetooth or a headphone signal processor that, takes sound.
Yeah, and the way they got you, the way they've been getting everybody is, 3D printing is a thing. Like, anyone who knew what the keyword was, looking for projects.
This thing is not unique. There's another one that's a portable one, and that shipped. It works. It's
right,
out.
And it works. Right, okay, yeah. And sometimes this is where the case where the knockoffs, if the other one was truly a knockoff, I don't know, maybe this is the knockoff. One of those shipped earlier because, they followed through and they were better planned, right?
Yeah, I think that the guys that run this thing, I think that they either overestimated their ability to pull this off, or they had some people on board that really didn't know what they were doing.
Or
and they were like, yeah, we'll be the talent that knows how to run the company, and then we have people that do all the good things for us, like they do the design and everything, and then they,
The other thing is that what happens is you got to be real sly. You have to have the right kind of person who can deal with when you start. You just make the assumption that your production line is going to happen in China. Your factory, someone's going to makeshift factory is going to, reform to your needs. And then, oh, by the way, there's a 3-4 month New Year's, celebration that always hit every project. You cannot get your thing in and out and done within that window. You're screwed. Also,
so they manufacture 20,000 shells, like the outside cases. They have 20,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the insides. The circuit boards are not correct.
Right. Because I assume I'm making the assumption that they got it done out of someplace in China, and if you don't have the right person to call out the factory when they're trying to take advantage of you, or make sure that they are, they are in alignment with the correct things of what you need done. I certainly suspect there's a game that is being played with some of these places that say they will do something for you, fully knowing that they're probably not 100% capable of doing it. Knowing that they're going to take advantage of a white person. I assume there's some of that actually happening.
But you'd have a delay of like half a year, right, to get this sorted. Right. But it turns out that they had issues with like the board didn't work. Then they had issues with getting it certified again and certified again, right? And now they're finally they have everything certified and stuff. And they have no money to actually make it.
Right.
I mean, there apparently there's a factory standing by just to start it, but how?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's what it comes down to, and
but to me, it sounds like the way that you have a, if you have a con man,
right.
They try to get you to trust them, right, and then eventually they'll come for the money. Right, they'll say, "Oh, I'm stuck in Zimbabwe, and we have a mine collapsed, and my friends are in there, and I need to get them out." Right, blah blah blah. Right,
Yeah.
some stupid grift to get the money. And this is what this sounds like to me.
Yeah, but to my arrogant presumption from whatever, if you left it in or not, that happens on both ends of this, right? You get somebody who says they're ready, give us your money in advance, and we'll go ahead and we'll be ready for you. Oh, by the way, that part you have, we can't get anymore. By the way, you're going to have to reuse another one. You're going to have to redo it. We're going to have to recharge you, right? Like there's that on both ends of the side of this. And you need the right team who knows how to navigate those kind of waters and knows what the waters that they're navigating and needs to understand both sides of the terminology that needs to be in place. And, sometimes building your team first is how you achieve things, right? Sometimes it's not the factories or the people who are providing new parts or things like that. I heard, who was it? There was somebody who had a project and their thing was something to do with like optical recognition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had spec'd out like an Optitron chip of whatever that was probably like 7 years old, but that hit their price point. And the lesson that they learned is not only the chips that they were getting that came out of China were like were desoldered from existing cell phones or something like
Ouch.
that. That the lot of the money that they spent to get these chips were most of them were not in great situation. And then when they called, I don't think it was Optitron, but it was something like that. They called the original company in China. They got a hold of them. They said, "Oh, well, first thing, those chips have been depreciated like a long time ago. They're out of date." And we can clearly, you send us a sample, we clearly see that whoever sold you these things, desoldered these off boards and didn't do a very good or careful job of that. By the way, the things that you want to do certainly will work a lot better for you, and we have a replacement chip today, but the per unit cost is like, a few more cents. And at whatever scale they were doing, there was a tremendous amount of money they didn't have, but they figured out how to find it. And then they went forth and redesigned their board and went through this whole thing. But that mistake had to do with how they were figuring out what their plan was. And they fixed it. And it took them, some months, but not years, right, to deliver a thing. And so I think that also is part of any time you're building any kind of electronics. It's not just having your engineer who came out of college. You got to have a lot more going on there.
Well, I think that the problem is that during their initial Kickstarter offering, they said, "Hey, we have it working. There's this, and it works and things." And then over the years, they had moments where they were a Kickstarter, but they never had where at like Maker Faire and stuff, and they never had a working product, right? And I think that.
That's where
they made it seem like they had the product, but it turns out they didn't.
Gaia.
And if they were if they would have just made it first, it doesn't matter if it looks like a piece of poop, right? If it looks like with the wire sticking out, because that you can show them you have the tech, you have the skills to make this work. Mm-hmm. Right? If you can design a circuit board, if you can design the setup you need, you have the resins, everything, right? And it works. You've made it work. You have a demo unit, which is great, right? And you would have figured out that maybe the headphone jack is not a great option to send the signals.
No.
Bluetooth is probably a better idea, right?
Yeah.
And I think if they would have done that and gone online, which is what the other Kickstarter did. I don't remember what the name was. Something with a T, T3D. I don't know. It looks like they did it that way. They have the product and then they can just start building it and start putting it up for certification and stuff.
Yeah.
If you have a test unit. And then it takes a couple of months to get the certification for stuff. But you already know how it works. You already have shown it works. And that's something that I'm going to look for every Kickstarter, everything that I do.
Sure, yeah.
Because I'm not trusting anybody anymore. I'm going to dig down until I find all the nasty stuff before I say, Okay, I'm gonna back that.
Yeah,
And
and
that's what these Kickstarters, they ruin it for like the hinky little startup that have their tech. All right,
right,
and then somebody's gonna come
just
in.
need the
Oh,
funds.
this looks like the Ono printer. It's never gonna work.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But they
Well,
have something that actually works.
my Indiegogo fail, right, is called Mobico or something like that, and it was basically um, a like a Bluetooth or like a wireless keyboard that also was a full scale touchpad. Now, other people have come up with a version of this kind of thing differently, well after whatever this. I feel like the gap has been 3 years. It might be even longer. It might be 4 years at this point. I have no idea. Without, you know what I mean? I just been getting endless for 2 3 years, like, emails saying, "Oh, we ran out of money," but for
Yeah.
them, they went from one kind of like optical sensor to having to do another, to using lasers in their process, to not having to use lasers. They had to go with some kind of infrared because it didn't certify, and they ran out of money. But the guy had several working prototypes. There were videos of it, and there was the software end of it where you could see how the multi-point sensing was working, and you know what I mean. And for him, what failed him is him and his team. I believe basically they got abused by manufacturing mechanism systems and factories in China.
Yeah.
And that's where his failure is, and he went to Indiegogo for money, and clearly didn't have, took him years to get pockets of money between everyone in the team to kind of keep progressing forward, and then having to get stuck into holidays and the whole thing. So if I'm to believe those emails to be correct, maybe this year, doubtful, right? Maybe next year I'll get one of these things. But at this point, you know what? Let's just call it quits.
Yeah.
If I don't, I've lost my money on the subject of it.
Also, I find that the comments you see on Kickstarters like this,
Yeah.
they're very funny. They're tragic and funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to go look at that, for the Ono Kickstarter, it's Polymatic.link/KL. For the Ono Start Engine campaign, Polymatic.link/KM. And I don't know where Start Engine comes from, but hey.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Hey, I think I'm just going to give up on the Ono printer. And if it ever comes in, I'm going to start a project to hack it and like do the like build a little project to do the movement of that little arm, the little stepper motor.
Another project on your list.
Yeah, another one.
Although I think someone will beat you to that. I think someone's probably going to do the same kind of thing.
There's already people out there that are working on something. But yeah, I don't understand why they just don't do the slicing on the phone. Most phones can do this on the phone, right? Even if you just render it beforehand, and then you have to log in. You have to upload your stuff to their servers, and then as soon as they finally the plug is pulled because somebody went to Tahiti with like lots of money for whatever is worth left.
Yeah, I don't know. Even then, that my initial hesitation was like, okay, well, let's just not ruin your phone. It's a neat idea.
Yeah, but you're not printing on the surface of your phone. You're printing on a piece of plastic that's between the phone and the thing.
But still,
that's what you're printing on.
Still, I don't know. I don't think I'm ever going to need a part in the middle of the desert with my Ono printer and my cell phone and a battery bank to the one part that's going to get us to, finish our ride and not die in the desert, right? In a 12-hour
but that's not what it's for.
Waiting thing.
That's definitely not what it's for.
Right, I understand.
This is for if you want to do something, like if you want to print like a figurine, like a little figurine for like wargaming or something like that, or you're printing a little thing for jewelry. Like you can print with wax, a certain wax that's photosensitive. I understand that. That's a great use case, and that's what I was going to use it for. But I don't know, man.
I don't know, the cost and the case use case for me they don't equate.
But
So
the thing is that they're still giving out updates, and they're still doing stuff, and they're still doing parts for this project, and they have the certification now and stuff. So there is something going on. They are still doing stuff. So
right,
on the
I
one
get
hand, I still have hope that they're just really misunderstood, or they're really, 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 really bad at communicating, which is I'm pretty sure that they are. Right, and then they're Italian too, so that's probably a bit of a problem there too. I think that
okay.
their egos might be getting in the way or something.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. What I do know is that for me it didn't apply, so I didn't let it apply. I mean that's what it came down to, and I mean me not choosing it, I looked at it for half a second. I thought about it, but I'm like, no, the price point is just too high given its consideration of what it does. So,
So,
but I mean, I hope that you follow through with actually getting it,
well, I
and
paid the
then it
money,
will.
so eventually I'll get it. But they send out the backer kits, the backer where you have to fill in your address,
Yeah,
over a year ago,
yeah,
almost year and a half ago, and people have moved since, right? So
yeah,
normally you get this like in the last minute before they start shipping, like in the last month before
yeah.
they start shipping, but they sent it like a year and a half ago. People have moved, email addresses don't work anymore. There's like so many problems with this.
I um I have not kickstarted anything. I don't think this year. I haven't supported or backed anything this year, and I
No.
think I might have maybe. So I mean, I learned my lesson. Some of these things take forever, so I think I'm waiting on one game, but it's still on track as expected. It had a little delay because of holidays in China, and printing delays. But otherwise, the person their stuff is shipping. I probably knowing me, we every time we have these conversations,
Yeah.
I get a and then a package is sitting at my door after we're done recording, right?
Oh,
So
maybe
the
something magically arrived.
right, yeah, and so maybe that game did come, and the thing I got was its previously successful game plus its new one because I want games that I uniquely can provide that none of my friends have, so I'm not when we're playing board games or card games or something like that. Not only do I find something unique that looks interesting, that's different, but it's also one that is not highly accessible to the because my friend Albert got me Cards Against Humanity when it was a Kickstarter. He got it, and then they had opened it up, and he got it to me as my gift for the year. So he bought a couple expansion packs for me in the corresponding years, and so I uniquely had it. And then everybody heard about it, and it wouldn't have mattered if I got every single expansion pack as it came out every year, and the big special things. It became wildly popular, and so I don't need to be the guy who has all the Cards Against Humanity cards, who brings it to the thing, to the event, because if there's five of us, four of us all have a full-fledged copy, right? And so, I always look for something where most people don't have it, and it's a fun game, and so that's where Kickstarter can be a really great place for things like that.
Hmm.
But I also learned, don't go to Kickstarter and get more stuff every year and load yourself up with things that are going to
They're
hopelessly
like
fail.
it's the same thing with like I have a thing where I sometimes shop on eBay or on
Right.
Amazon
Mm-hmm.
where I just buy something for myself and then promptly forget about it. And then eventually I get a note in the mailbox saying, "Hey, you weren't home. So there was a package. You can pick it up here." I'm like, "What the hell did I buy? What
Yeah.
did I get?"
Yeah.
And then and go, "Oh,
Yeah.
that thing."
You got to check your consumerism every once in a while, and I certainly have. And my focus right now is to, and now especially the Teslas are open to everybody. You don't have to put a reservation fee down anymore, though that would have accounted for your next level of deposit anyways. But you can just go right to deposit. So I looked at it and go, okay, great, fantastic. I just need to put some money down and go buy the thing. And so the little cash pool of side money that I had for other things, that's going to go towards a deposit on a Tesla Model 3. But, some part of me is like, well, that's enough for me to replace all the mics in this room here and do that and do that. Nope. Oh, I could pay that other thing down faster. Nope. Gotta check your consumerism. You don't need it. It's not important. It's just not important.
I was looking at so a friend of mine plays War Machine. He's been on a podcast before.
Right. Alan, the other Alan.
Other Alan.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be called that. So he plays War Machine. So I was looking at, maybe trying some of that out, maybe getting like a basic kit.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, I recently sold all of my Magic cards because I never ever actually used them.
Yeah.
Should I get into this while I have another $5,000 project and things to do?
No. Check your list. Check your consumerism. Check your habits. Just say no.
So I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through this a lot longer. I mean, our last conversation, I had put a lot of thought and balance and checks in my own life, and I tried a check and balance mechanism that clearly failed, and I tried another one, and if I hadn't been doing this with so many side things, with podcast and making AMVs and stuff like that, I wouldn't probably be as well organized or I handle it well today by comparison. Back in my 20s, if I take that as an example.
I think that everybody has that, right? So I think that everybody later in life decides, hey, I should have, if I would have not spent all that money on all those things,
right,
I would have had a lot of money now. But then again, you gotta live. Right?
Yeah, right.
You gotta learn.
Yeah. My parents don't understand the podcasting. They don't understand what podcasting is, and to them, it doesn't appeal to them because they don't care. Yeah. It's simply just like the barrier for entry to understand. They can't even get that far.
Yeah.
So that's fine. The second thing is they think, well, are you making ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching? Because that is part of their universe of where they came from, and the answer is absolutely not. And so when you look at it, if you're looking for the ka-ching, 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 what am I benefiting from? It's mental health. You know what I mean? It's more than a hobby. It's a serious hobby, but it's not an obsession. It's something that I do. I've worked it out in such a way it's not strenuous or not too strenuous. It's momentary.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, it allows my creative impulse that is, yelling and screaming at me during the week every single day to be satiated a little bit and be satisfied by that. And then when I get to the end of the week or the end of the year, end of the month, or 10 years later, somebody goes, well, that's not the greatest stuff. You're terrible at it. I go, yeah, but I got way more of it than you do. And I got plenty of great moments that are numerous over your great moments, buddy. And let's not have a pissing contest. The reality is this is what I've been doing, and these are the results. Yeah. And for me, I am far more stable about understanding how I work projects and what my balance is because I've been doing things. That's it. I've been doing things. And you can't take that away from me because of your comparison by ego. Screw off. But because I did all that stuff, it's kept me a fairly grounded individual. I am not seeking, the ever-ending projects as much as I used to because I have plenty. You know what I mean? The only thing I haven't really learned a lesson is stopping a project. I've done this a couple times because they were yielding zero results and the energy I was putting in was not giving me anything coming back out. So I was clearly not good enough, clearly was not doing enough, clearly wasn't working for me, so I stopped, right?
Yeah.
And that was probably some focus of I wish I could quit my day job and not deal with those stress points, but do something that is far more positively healthy, reinforcing to my day-to-day. Just like, podcastings are, at least at a week or a month level. So, Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, to go off on a hard rant on that, but it goes back to the balance, the projects, and checking your impulse reaction to, oh, it's only $300, right? Okay, multiply by 10 of those that you did over the last 2 years, and then realize, well, that's not a significant amount of money, but that's a really good deposit on a new Cintiq, right?
That's the
Uh,
Cintiq, basically.
right, and so I mean, you realize it doesn't mean a lot for you at the very given moment of whatever your visibility of your thinking is. Well, it's not enough.
Well,
Yeah.
this is why I'm not going to the shop and buying a kit, right? So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. By the way, you mentioned games a while back.
Yeah.
I've been working on a game, so eventually I want to put it up on Kickstarter or something like that to
Mm-hmm.
get it funded to have it actually printed. I'm play testing with like my brother and other people
Yeah.
to get things working. I cannot really talk about what the game mechanic is, but it has a fun gimmick that I think people will like. It's mostly for adults, so I think more along the lines of not the game mechanic of Cards Against Humanity, but the level of content.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more for adults, but I think it's a fun game, and I think I can make it like work for
Yeah.
other content types as well. It's,
But if you have the right team, you can do it. I mean, my stepbrother and I know this person. He grew up with that person in high school, but I knew this individual through other people, ironically. Small town, small world. So him and his buddies, and I had no idea. And I see this guy like once a year. Him and his buddies made a game, and they put it up on Kickstarter, and they made like 50,000 of them, and they never made the game again. They didn't, like, that isn't the business they're in, but they made a game. It was successful. It did well. They got it printed. I've never played his game, and he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't. There's nothing. It's just a thing he did with his friends,
yeah.
and so almost anybody. No, I mean, it takes effort and skill. Like, per rants, the previous rants before, it does takes a lot of skill and stuff. Not just finding somebody say, yes, you give us 10,000 American dollars, we will print, five of your things. Right? I get there's lots of that,
Yeah.
but. In the same respect, I mean, that's also how a lot of these projects fail. They don't really research deep enough. They don't really check. And maybe there's not a good marketplace for the market to self-rate the people who are doing things, and what people's, to keep the market honest, right? It is probably not a very honest market when you're manufacturing. And the only people that get past that is because they've built the right kind of teams of people who are capable in these areas, plus American business, and that's why you got the Apples of the world, and the various big companies that we know of, because they're capable of knowing how those dangerous waters work and navigating through them.
Well, from what I know, is that there's some companies out there that do where you can just upload the content for your game, and then you can just say, hey, you can purchase it here. They'll be printed in the US or EU, and they'll be shipped out. And if you're from the EU, you can buy it from here. If you're from the US, you can buy it from here.
I don't know if it was you or somebody where I found it myself. I found something similar to that.
No.
Because, I know what it was. I was looking for, you can only, if you're a Microsoft employee and you are at like one of the Microsoft headquarter buildings that have a Microsoft employee store in Seattle, you can buy a Cards Against Humanity thing that is like programming things, and it was made by Microsoft, and they used this company's site. That's how I found out about it, where it was exactly what you're talking about, where you can upload your stuff, and they're in the business of doing just this. Right? You can have your small run of games, and it's all like completely done in the US. and it's like people who did this but you can't buy that game because they made a small run, and the stock that's left in the world is in Microsoft buildings and an employee store that's nested inside a Microsoft building in Seattle, right? And so I want a copy of that stuff. You can't get that stuff, but there's a company that lets you do those things, and that's how Microsoft did that.
So there's a little small store in Gouda. My plan is to make like a small run of them, like a small run of that game.
Yeah.
And then to give them like 4 copies and say, hey, this is a game. I made this. Have fun. And if they want to sell it, they can sell it. And then get the feedback from that and see if that works. Yeah. But the whole plan for this is to just have it be a hobby thing. I want to make it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, I have lots of artwork out of it that they can put up somewhere, put in a book or something.
And I mean, maybe you can make it available for sale on your artist community and find a small fulfillment company in the Netherlands that might handle it. Also, gift it to all your friends who are going to have other friends that do that, who can play the game or can understand it. And, look for positive, reinforced, hive mind collective feedback, not just biased, right?
Yeah.
Don't give it to the very people you made the game for, who they're the ones who are going to spread and be the prophet for it. Like, you give it to people who might not fully get it but are a good candidate, and that's how you get honest feedback. You look for people who aren't gonna reconfirm, resupport the success you want to hear about.
So I have one other link for this discussion about 3D printers. Yeah. So Makers Muse did a quality assurance problems video, Polymatic.media/KN for that. Very interesting about how the printers have been getting worse. Mm-hmm. Printers are getting released without actually working, and people think, oh well, we'll send them an update or we'll send a kit. And then if people complain, well, it's a kit, so you built it, so you broke it probably, so we're not going to refund you. Stuff like that. Anyway, so Polymatic.media/KN for that. And then I have 2 other links for projects that I've been working on. So I have an EPP client, which is EPP is a protocol that is used for domain registration. My goal was to make an EPP client that's completely just vanilla EPP, and then I'm going to build others for other registries, so for .eu, for .whatever, and versions of that extend from this one. So far it's been going pretty well. I have to work on it actually. I did it recently, and then I worked on it for like a day, and then I was like, okay. And then on to the next project, which is the next one. The first one is Polymatic.media/KO. And then I built a packaging app for building FARs, which is something that I used in the PHP community, where you build a package, basically like a jar for Java or an executable. It just packages all the files in your project into a single file. And then you can use that to run it on your web server or run it on just a console command stuff.
For deployment.
So go check that out on Polymatic.media/KP.
Perfect. Projects. It's called Packet.
Yeah, Packet. Yeah. Which is Dutch for package.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay, should we move on to the fun stuff? Or do you have more to rant on Kickstarter projects?
Do I need to rant more?
Oh man, Kickstarter projects it's so annoying that the concept is great. The problem is that there's so many failures.
Yeah, and I choose my bets carefully, right? And that is the lesson I learned by doing it for 1 year and seeing, put up 3 or 4 things in and find out what the result looked like, and then I get better at profiling and trusting. And I learned, for me, Indiegogo has more con artist projects than actual reality. The perfect example is I bought Gole. The Goles, remember when we were kind of initially starting these little microcomputers? And so that team in China was the original team that made that thing. They made that product. They were the original like team out of school who made that project. That was it. That was their bread and butter. They've done it a couple other times. This was they went to Kickstarter, and they made a thing. Okay. And then when I was recently just sort of curious looking, there was a guy saying, "Look, I made a microcomputer. Look at it. It's a pocket microcomputer." And it was basically a Gole with more memory and probably maybe a slightly less older chip, right? So that team clearly is reselling. Like if you go to them, you say, "Hey, can you put 128, megs in this of RAM, right?" Okay. Or gigs of RAM. Sorry, not megs. 128 gigs of RAM.
That would be very expensive.
Right. Make it Windows only, and and then use the latest Cherry Tail chip, whatever it was, right? And they'll say okay, and then they go do it. And you pay them, and then they said, and we can produce X number of these things, because we have a mechanism where we can do that. And then this guy comes along and says, "Hey, I invented a new thing. It's a microcomputer." And all he was doing is he just came up with an agreement to pay them more, and he's kickstarting it like he invented this amazing new thing. But he hadn't done anything. He has a product where they did a one-off for him, and if you give him an overinflated price, he'll take that, and it's basically profiteering from a machine that can produce a product for him, and he's just slapping some new packaging on top of it. And you look at that and go, okay, well, I know what the origin of that thing is. Oh, by the way, it wasn't hard to look up what the origin of it was. And that was my point. My point is that you got to profile people.
Be very careful when you're backing anything. It might just be that it's a repackaged. It might be that it doesn't exist. Right. It might be that somebody is just going to go with it may exist, but the actual the guy that made it or the girl that made it didn't made it, and then somebody else got involved and ran away with all the money. That might also happen. So be very careful on Kickstarter.
Yeah, here's the simple things. GoFundMe is all about just cash. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And so if someone's promising a product on the other end of the GoFundMe thing, don't trust that, because you use that platform to amass money. And that is for help me for surgery or help me for this. But if it's someone saying, "Hey, I got this new fantastic mouse," right? They're just going to take your money and run. So that's what GoFundMe is about. Indiegogo, like Kickstarter, has some general rules, but Kickstarter is far better at forcing the people who are launching a campaign to authorize and verify, and there's a team that verifies and validates that you have a thing to sell, and that you have a working prototype, right?
Well, and then there's the fact that for Indiegogo, you always get the money as the project starter, and for Kickstarter, you need to get to a goal first,
right,
before you get the money.
Yeah, so there's far more validation going on from the Amazon and Kickstarter side of the house compared to, let's say, Indiegogo, as far as I'm aware. So that's why far more legitimate successes happen inside Kickstarter, right? And so that's where we're at. But there's Kickstarter fails. Things fail all the time, right? That's a risk you take, and you have to get a better sense of profiling these projects and the people on the other end who are running it, So I think that's the moral lesson to have learned if you haven't gone through that. Try out with small things. Don't spend thousands of dollars on one thing. You could very likely lose all that cash. Yeah. So I think that's it. Is that anything more on that?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm done with Kickstarter. So the fun stuff. So I don't know if this is fun, but nuclear test videos. So one of the labs where they did tests, they had lots of videos in stock and they never digitized those, and now they did. So Polymatic.media/K8 for some big booms.
Well, let's clarify. They had actual film
Yeah.
of the test footage, and now they're going through the process of finding said film and correcting whatever science learned lessons outside of it, and also trying to digitally archive it, so it could be preserved.
Anyway, the it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Polymatic.link/K8. Yep. Okay, so this is not my thing. I'm not mining cryptocurrency, though maybe I should have, and I would be far wealthier than I am today. But regardless of that, I came along this site recently, and I thought this was kind of neat. It gives you some insight about the productivity of mining, what your cost impact might be, but also it's sort of keeping, it's like a stock market. It's kind of keeping an actual track of value of current cryptocurrency. It's called What to Mine, Polymatic.link/KE.
Awesome.
And I just thought I'd share that. I thought that was kind of interesting. Someone's
I'm
come
still
together.
not gonna try to mine stuff because
I'm not. I should have, should have, would have, didn't. Otherwise, it would have been, in a better financial fiscal position today.
Do you know that there was a faucet, a Bitcoin faucet at some point where you could get a Bitcoin for free?
Really?
Yeah, and I had a couple.
Couple Bitcoins?
Yeah.
Well, then they're worth a bunch of money right now.
No idea where they went.
Oh, so you don't know? You didn't have a hardware wallet or anything?
No, this was like at the very start of it all, before anybody knew about that stuff.
Right.
And I remembered recently, I was like, hey, wasn't there like a thing that was called faucet, the faucet thing? I don't know. Yeah. Cryptocurrency, fun stuff.
One interjection. If you're going on a Kickstarter and they're talking about blockchain every which way, don't put your money into it. Right? Just like people are abusing 3D printing as the keyword term, it is. Yeah, and the ledger is the value there. It's not the chain exactly, right? Yeah. It's the ledger. So people are like, they're building smartphones on blockchain. What does that mean? That's just a bullshit term unless you really own up to what it is you think you're doing. Oh, you're just using a blockchain ledger to do with against some kind of encryption mechanism. Oh, okay. See, that makes sense, but if you don't say that, you're full of shit. Sorry.
Anyway, recently on my playlist, a remix of some of the music from Interstellar was playing. I was like, Interstellar. I Googled something, and then I saw a video about the ticking clock in Interstellar. Like the concept of the
pace.
Well, the pace of the music, they, instead of using like an actual ticking clock device, like a bomb or something like that, they used the music to indicate that there was a thing that needed to happen. Like it will do a tick a second. So for that, go to Polymatic.link/K9, and this should have been a Doctor Who link or something.
This This is kind of how, well, movies do this all the time, except this was way more subtle. But for someone like myself who's aware of it, I'm aware of the tension that they're trying to manipulate, or the tension they're indicating is going to happen. That's how they release and create tension in you emotionally, is how they pace music, how they pace a lot of things. And movies, well-done movies, let's say like Arrival, for example, they do this all the time. So does Interstellar. And this is going to be a video that's going to explain that, but with direct context to Interstellar. So it was Polymatic.link/K9. Definitely worth it, especially if you think you're into films, right? Yeah. You're into, things like this. All right, so this is not new to me. Certainly not new to John. This is just new to everybody else who probably wants to.
I saw this video and I thought I put it in the list.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's a good.
I put it on my watch later list, which is normally use to put up videos.
Yeah.
And I forgot about it.
Well, it doesn't just
So when
tell
I
you what grep is, but it gives you actually an origin about it.
Yeah.
So for those who don't really know, and you can get like apps like this on Windows, and certainly it's a common thing in command line in Linux. But grep is basically global regular expression. So if you just want to search through files, files, your kind of things like in Spotlight or in Windows, like a search, it's doing very much in line for your files. But
way
if you
more
want to
powerful.
right, way more powerful. But if you want to grep through, so if you're looking at logs and you want to look for a user token through 10 years worth of files, you can use grep, and grep will give you every single line it finds. But this gives you also more of the origin, why it's called grep, not just sort of the acronym that I just spun on out, but also kind of where it actually came from. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And if you are not a Unix person, but you find a tool like this incredibly useful, also look up tail. If you have anything where you have to watch the web logs or actual ongoing logs real time, tail is another one. But Polymatic.link/KF has nothing to do with Kentucky Fried Chicken or chicken.
Oh, nice. Chicken.
Unless you're searching for chicken. Boy, you're grepping.
Yeah. If we're pimping out commands, sed, sed, head, those are the opposite of tail, and so many others. But I don't know if they're going to do a video about those things.
No. I mean, those are. If you know any Unix, have you ever done any Unix? I mean, these are things like. I said to another Unix guy one time, and I just said, "Well, just grep it." He was like, "Grep." Guy was like working with Unix in like the 90s. I'm like, "Just grep it," and he had no idea what I was talking about. And then he's like, "Well," I said, "Do we send it?" Well, yeah, just run a tail on it. And he's like looking at me like he had no idea what I was talking about. So I expect that look from people who are like in the Windows world or in the Mac world. Of course, they're not going to know what that means. But those are like very powerful, useful tools. Yeah, sure, it's available, in the Mac, and it's certainly these things are available in Windows. These are not like unknowns.
Oh no, but like
who are in the know.
OS X is Unix based. Right,
yeah, I understand that. And you can pull up the console and you get yourself to a bash and you can grep and tail things. Yeah, I get that. I understand it's there. But your everyday Mac, X, Mac OS.
Oh, yeah, but the same thing for Windows machines, people that don't understand that stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Next one. Extinction trailer. New film on Netflix is going to come out soon with Michael Pena, I think his name is.
Yeah.
I think he's in Ant-Man and the Wasp and in Ant-Man 2. He's like the guy that his friend, like that goes on within the car in the bus. The guy that picks him up in.
I haven't seen the Ant-Man movie yet.
Oh, okay.
But to the point,
I
know the name, I know the actor. I'm generally aware of the actor. I just can't recall the very most recent things aside that you just been saying. I know him has been in aside from this trailer.
So Polymatic.link/KA.
Yeah,
it looks interesting. I don't know. I'll watch it.
It looks interesting. I think it's going to be a sci-fi horror.
But I think it's one of those movies where they bought the rights for it because it wasn't marketable. So they just bought out the movie.
Yeah.
Like did the same thing for Spectral, I think. So
like I said, these sci-fi plus let's just tack in a bunch of horror without any real good story premise, plot tied all the way around it every which way. These are the kinds of things where it's like becomes an unnecessary tension waster for me, and so I'm usually like, I'm out. It's like Event Horizon. You ever seen that movie? Oh yeah, it's just sort of, what the hell is going on? Oh yeah, we're gonna take you through 3 hours of nothing, and then when you get to the end of it, we're not gonna solve anything, right? Where at least in Alien or Aliens, there's lots of stuff going on. I mean, it still was a sci-fi horror time waster for me personally, but there was still movement in it. Yeah. And so, I don't know, I looked at that trailer and I was like, not for me. Okay. But totally for my roommate, for a lot of people I know in podcasts, probably for John, like but not for me.
Oh, you're so high and mighty.
No, I'm not high and mighty. I just know that I'm going to be totally out.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to be out. I'm going to just not. But that was probably like that link/K. Don't let my negative Nancy comments right there deter you, because at this point you probably know me well and they go, yeah, I don't agree with that one. I'll totally love this movie.
Yeah. So are you going to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp? Are you going to see Ant-Man?
I'll probably see it, but it's not a huge priority to me. I saw the first Ant-Man movie in the theater. I saw the second one, I think, in the theater.
Well, there's only one so far.
No, I thought there was maybe there was some other stuff where they had the Ant-Man characters and some crossovers. That's probably
there's
what
like
it was.
Civil War.
Yeah, that's
Captain
what
America
it was.
Civil War.
Yeah,
It was in there. Yeah.
That's why I was thinking there was a second iteration of that, because I saw a second incarnation of those characters. So I probably will see it. And given my, I'm going to say the word wrong, so I'm not going to say it at all. But given my recent association with wasps not trying to leave my house and set up a nest, my father's like, hey, I hear the Ant-Man and the Wasp are in the movie theater. It sounds like it's a perfect fit for you. My father has found humor in texting, which does not come off as like humorous at all.
I think it's just a situation where you don't find it funny, but other people find it hilarious.
Well, they've gone away, so that's good. And I did buy wasp nests, but I didn't put them up anywhere because they have a tendency to attract the wasps. That's how they capture them. And I was like, yeah, maybe I don't want to encourage that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah.
Next one.
All right. So this is called Missing Words. You just kind of have to watch it. You're either going to find it funny or not.
It's so
absurd
cringy.
Humor. It's so absurd humor. Polymatic.link/KG, and that is not a measurement of my humor or anything. As in like kilograms. It's not funny.
It's not funny.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I tried to. I couldn't get through it. I was like,
yeah.
This is
I know you have no
funny.
patience for that, for obscure humor.
Well, I have patience for obscure humor. I can really appreciate some stuff, but this was just not funny to me.
Yeah, it was just not funny. Yep, I get it. I understand.
Words to cut from your novel. I've been working on yet another project. And this was relevant. So Polymatic.link/KB. If you're into writing, or you are writing a novel for the first time, or just trying to write something, go look at this video. Might have some tips for you. Polymatic.link/KB.
They were pretty good. I probably should watch this video in full and follow some of its practices, but as an editor of people, what they say, I find myself cutting out a lot of unnecessary vernacular. And then if it's an email or a document I really care about, which is not most of my writing, unless it's like a formal message to a customer related to work, you start your first draft and then your second draft and then your third draft before you hit send. And there are lots of little things you can cut out you just don't need when you're talking. And there's lots of that. But you don't need, it was very, very, very cold, right? You can say it was cold and I was freezing. Okay. It was cold and I was shivering. That's a better restructure of the same thing. And so you watch this video, you're going to find out how many mistakes you were making and how little you were listening in English class. That was Polymatic.link/KB.
Yep.
Okay, so this is short, it's odd. Polymatic.link/KI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one is...
You didn't like it?
I don't remember what it was, so I'm like...
That's good.
I'm going to have to look at it.
That's about as much entertainment as you're going to get out of it.
Was it the video with the...
Don't say it. Just let people be surprised.
I think that Phil DeFranco listed this at some point, like recently.
I don't know. Possible.
Anyway.
Who knows?
Next one is Thanos did nothing wrong ban event recap thingy. So they made a blog post about banning half of a Reddit.
And they did.
And they did. So there was a
Yeah.
subreddit called r/Thanos did nothing wrong. So if you did watch Infinity War or you didn't, now's the time that spoilers are okay. At the end of the movie, he basically snaps his fingers and half the universe disappears.
Yep.
And
So that was a good troll on Reddit's side, and it was probably
no, the moderators for the for the subreddit asked them to do this.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they banned half of that Reddit, and they made a new Reddit, and everybody got into that, into the Souls gem or something like that. And there was even video like from the guy that plays Thanos in the movie where he snaps his finger.
Yeah, Josh Brolin.
Yeah,
that's
funny.
I heard about it. I just hadn't bothered to care enough to follow through to see what was going on.
Polymatic./KD for that.
Yes. Okay, so we were talking about stuff last week, and I mentioned a video. I found the video. I'm going to call this Growbot because it's sort of his Growbot. This is just a guy who's talking about putting his non-farmer capabilities together and putting his tech electrical engineering skills together and coming up with a very repeatable solution to make everyone sort of a farmer in your own house, in your own neighborhood, in your own town. And
until it gets used for certain plants.
Right, it's only good for certain, plants, but I think there's something value to be said. That's why that sort of buy locally movement is
I meant like
so prevalent.
I meant like certain types of plants that some people would use this for. Like to grow at home.
I got that. Huh? Yeah, but that's not what that's for. Those people are already expert farmers at that, at that level. But it also brings up, two other things. So I just figured I would.
What's the link for this?
There.
What's the link for this?
So Polymatic.link/KJ. I believe that's a J, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like a J to me. I think so. I think it's KJ. Growbot. Take you to a TED Talk's like 15 minutes long. Fairly interesting. If you want to get more involved, you can. But also, this is something I've just been out of my own sort of interest. Not something I think I was ever going to take on as a project to do. But this goes into the value we get out of hydroponics, right? And this is an example, and this is a couple years old. And there was another video I was looking for. I didn't find, but Polymatic.link/KK. Oh, hey, I hit another K. John, are you upset?
Yeah.
I was wondering which one of us was to get there. And this is about vertical farming, and this is something about a group of people figuring out how to do vertical farming inside industrial area in a warehouse, that basically probably was previously abandoned or not in use, and making value out of that, making locally grown vegetables inside a warehouse, like almost anywhere. And there are a ton of people working on this. There was one that had really interesting, which you see reference everywhere. And I found the original video, and for the life of me, I could not find it last night. Where these guys are somewhere up in Canada, where they took over a warehouse, and they are growing a tremendous amount of vegetables and Ebola and all kinds of other very important. Yeah, there's a reference.
You know what Ebola is?
Yeah, I understand. But in this warehouse, they have one warehouse where they're growing certain plants that have Ebola-resistant stuff in it, and then they're also growing Ebola for medical reasons. But then they are also growing like
Ebola is a blood disease,
right? But there's a point that they're doing this not to create problems, but to help fix problems. So, but there's lots of vertical farming stuff that's going on, and if there's money to put your money into, this might be a productive place. Polymatic.link/KK. This is just another example, a good example of somewhere where this is happening in New York. And,
okay, hang on a second. I'll cut this, but I have a question for you because I don't understand this. Ebola is a disease.
Yeah,
that's from Africa. So how would you grow Ebola in a plant?
So what happens is in any place that is doing vaccines and stuff, they grow a certain amount of, or they culture a certain amount of the problem, and then they, through research and study, what they do is they grow the very resistant things or the things that kill them or whatever it is, and they find ways to battle it so they can come up with vaccines or antidotes and stuff like that. So this company, they're growing actual food for people to eat, but they're also growing things for medical cases that they can cultivate in a very limited case where they can cultivate the Ebola, and so that they can do the testing, and they're growing the resistant wherever they're getting in the gene or whatever it is, the chemical material out of the plant. And so they are doing medical research on it to come up with a better antidote or whatever, what do they call that? Stuff to anyone who catches or has Ebola, how to basically make them survive. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots of good work that's going in, and normally to do that, you would need to be like, I don't know about Ebola, but you'd have to be in a certain part of the world with a certain kind of dry humidity and a certain kind of light all year round and a certain kind of soil. They don't have to do that at all. They don't need the soil. They need the nutrients, and through a combination of hydroponics and all of this and the right kind of light, they can produce the right kind of light with little use of power. They can take local water and put the right kind of nutrients in it, and they can produce in a much smaller footprint and vertically a tremendous amount of whatever it is they want. Your greatest looking carrots. In the Growbot video, guy talks about a tomato from sea banks that they grew. The tomato hasn't been grown in 150 years, right? That kind of stuff. And so that the vertical farming plus hydroponics, right? It's really just hydroponics being evolved technically. And they're able to take warehouses that have been abandoned by society and clean them up, make them perfect places for this kind of stuff, and produce the tomatoes that are in your local area, so you don't have to truck it, send it by airplanes, you don't have to create pollution, you don't have to create all kinds of things, you don't have to create delay. Your apple isn't 18 months old from the time it was fresh, right? They don't have to put crap in there, they don't have to put pesticides on it. They can build it at a very small footprint, very economically and very effectively from a resource perspective, and repeat this process 24/7.
My confusion came from you saying that they were growing Ebola, because Ebola only grows in animals.
Right. They're cultivating it, and then they're also growing the plants that counter that help fight Ebola. Does that make sense?
Okay. So okay.
So I mean, that's probably the part you want in, but they're doing vertical farming for positive reasons, not negative.
Yeah.
ones.
Okay. I understand that, but the whole growing Ebola thing, I just don't.
You can cut that part out somehow. I know, I was
fun times.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want me to redo that one, I can.
Well, I don't. I still don't get how they would grow something like that in a vertical farm.
We should probably just keep this whole conversation in, because I think it's probably important for others to have this whole piece.
How did they do this?
Yeah. And look, it's for positive reasons. It's not for negative ones. They're not weaponizing this. This stuff is, and also this is exactly what is learned out of this, is also how we will be capable as a society to build a dome for ourselves in soil on Mars that is incapable of doing what we needed to naturally do. This is sort of an evolved, technologically available way of doing hydroponics, is how we're going to be able to survive and have farms and live on Mars, right? Because we're not capable as a society or as a race to terraform yet. We just aren't.
Yet.
But to do that, hydroponics is a humongous way of growing and having vegetables. Now, we're probably still going to have to be shipping in mass quantities the nutrients we need from Earth to Mars. But when we get sort of the interstellar pipeline moving, then we are in a much more path for success than we would normally be. And so that's why this stuff is interesting to me, because it shows me how it would get done. I'm learning by the iteration. I'm not learning by studying it academically or being involved, right? Yeah. And this is not new stuff. Some of these videos are a couple years old at very least. I think the Growbot one's 2015, and it wasn't even new then. You know what I mean? This guy was working on this a good year prior to that. You know? There's progress happening, and I think that was the point of sharing those videos, not to, be a prophet to change of a. You know, I mean, I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not trying to change the universe.
Speaking of changing the universe, I think the next one is very tasty.
Yeah. Okay. So this video. So those last two were Polymatic.link/KJ and KK. Right, and that's really about vertical farming and the Growbot stuff. I mean, maybe you want to research what this guy was doing even from 3 years ago. Maybe you could construct these things yourself and build something yourself. To his point in the video, they're hard. But it's a thing you can do. And if you really want to grow your own fresh tomatoes in a technological manner with technology and Arduino boards or whatever it is, you can. So that was at Polymatic.link/KJ and KK. Okay, so this last one, I thought of my stepbrother because he likes to cook, and he's inherited file cabinets as a thing to store stuff away from my father. File cabinets are for offices. You wouldn't normally go into somebody's office and find a file cabinet in their home unless their home and their office are the same.
I think this is also a form of vertical farming.
Yeah, I guess so. It's really vertical smoking. But this is this guy. His channel is called Food Busker. Basically, Food Buster. He had plenty of restaurants in his past that failed, but he's still a good chef. So I found his channel a while ago. I've been following him, and he tries to make the ultimate omelet or the ultimate bacon something or the ultimate something Japanese, fish something sashimi, and then he tests it out with his friends. And so he did this video I thought was interesting, which is how to smoke bacon in a file cabinet. Polymatic.link/KH. Awesome. As a general recommend to follow this guy. But I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting how he decided to smoke his bacon.
Well, he's a personality, that's for sure. He's a personality, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Did you, obviously you didn't buy a file cabinet to smoke bacon in it, did you?
No, I have plenty of projects that want to smoke bacon, and definitely not in my house.
Yeah, well, in his case, outside of his house.
Even that, I couldn't put this on the balcony because I have an apartment, so it's not,
Yeah, but even then, I mean, it was an interesting thing. He took an old file cabinet and he turned it into a smoker. Yeah.
So next one, I have some music. And Alan, you don't have any music, so I'm gonna just do this.
Really not. I think all the people that I usually follow have been putting out new stuff, as we were talking about from May. They're leaking into June, and I know a lot of those artists have more stuff to release. Probably seems like the pattern is August. They have the stuff done. They have everything done, but their management is telling them, no, milk it all the way until December, right? Instead of just releasing the album. Irritates the hell out of it.
Summer vacations, I think that people will release stuff after summer vacation, which is usually August, September when they come back.
But when you're on vacation, when you want to enjoy, you have more time to enjoy stuff. That would be the time to.
That's why they release it just before.
Yeah. The point.
Glitch Mob.
I don't have any new artists for you.
Anyway, so Glitch Mob released a new album. This is the last track on that album. Polymatic.link/KC for this.
Yeah.
The way out is in. Okay. I think that was it. So, Alan, where can they find you?
If you really care. You can find me on Twitter, CHAESS. It's my last name.
You can find me on Twitter at WebDevy, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Music is by Say Uns, which you can find at polymatic.link/ek. Our Twitter is @thepolymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time.